Hey everyone.
Oh, no. Clearing.
You think
So-
you know someone until they make an unexpectedly finding out that
Hey everyone. So welcome once again to the weekly review. Sorry we have not been able to keep up every week. We are trying to get back to the cadence. Also, today I will keep it short. I'm a little bit under the weather, and I think just want to make sure that we talk about the kind of unprecedented market we are seeing right now. And I think overall, which we have seen is since the whole rally started from the bottom, most of the like sectors, like right now, I think tech is leading, especially semiconductor, and that is something which is causing excuse me, kind of a very very narrow market rally, which has created euphoria. So let's look through some of the charts and how this market is unfolding, so that we are able to talk through this. So overall, I think what we are seeing here is, I hope this is visible on the chart, as we always do. So as you can see, this is one of, like, we did talk about a little bit, I think, when we last met on the overbought conditions, and they have actually got worse every day because this rally is continuing. Like it's kind of there is never a history, there is no precedent ever that market goes on without a correction. As you can see, there is hardly any correction which has come up in this kind of thing. And not only that, like in terms of a long term charts, like we are looking at the highs, the trend line from the last time, we have now almost hit that, which was usually a long term target for this rally. Same thing for, I would say, QQQ, which is actually going even further. So what is the reason for it? As you can see, I would say this is just what we are seeing right now is mostly about semiconductor. And the weightage, some of these stocks which were supposedly small, like if you look at Intel, if you look at AMD and so on, they have contributed such a huge part of this rally. And that is also impacting some of these indices like SMH, which is a semiconductor index, and also creating a tech rally, which is like a non-stop on a daily basis. In the process, what we are seeing is that the wider market, like the yields are still up, the oil is still up, so that is creating a mismatch right now. And what I think everybody is wondering right now is where does this music stop? Because there is, as I said, there is no precedent of it, and more importantly, it is kind of taking a bubble proportion in some sectors, while if you see some of the like wider sectors are yet to go and catch up. So in that sense, we have seen what happened with something like, AWS or GME craze. Like it is like, if just to remind you what happens when there is a non-stop kind of a short squeeze or a gamma squeeze, as we call it, which leads to these rallies. The drops can be big. So what we would recommend is to be very careful. I would say something like what we are seeing in semiconductor, the drop can be pretty big. And especially even within the semiconductor, as you know, there are the other names, like if you look at Avagos of the world or Nvidias of the world, they have been pretty much near their all-time highs, not making new highs in this rally, even though they have recovered most of it. They are almost trading around that. So if you see both Nvidia and Avago, which have been the leaders, and also probably if you look at the forward earnings and so on, something like Nvidia is way cheaper. But on the other hand, we are seeing that the smaller names, which are not correlated with their fundamentals, except for, of course, memory, which is a big discussion right now. A lot of people are asking whether are they becoming like something like Micron, which was rated at a very different price levels. Right now, even though the price earning look good because of the memory price going up, there is a question mark over what happens as the bottlenecks get removed. As can memory continue driving that kind of price pressure? Because in the whole supply chain of semiconductor, right now memory was the shortage that led to a very huge spike in memory prices. But what if there are other pieces, like for example TSMC and others, they also are constrained and they have not really raised the prices? What if they start raising prices and so on? So there's a lot of question mark right now on semiconductor, what's going to happen. But overall, I think for now, market is chasing this rally, and which is causing this kind of an extreme scenario where every day you see some 10% kind of moves, which is almost becoming like, as we saw in the meme stock kind of frenzy, where retail just buys every day, and nobody can afford to sit out. They feel like they're missing out, and this usually doesn't end well. So overall, what also is happening is, as we have been discussing, there is this whole narrative around software. Even though generally the software ETF has turned around, but it is still underperformed by a big margin. It's still way below the levels. And again, the story is still the same, that the software is going to get eaten up by the AI. So there are few things that you would like to talk about. One is, while this narrative is leading this frenzy, we also saw news of how some of these deals announced are not even funded. Like, for example, Avago took a beating yesterday when the news came out that OpenAI and Avago deal is being questioned because they don't have secured financing. And to be frank, almost every deal, if you remember, there was the similar issues with Oracle and OpenAI deal previously. And Oracle is, even though it's recovering, but overall it is still underperforming, because even though they have a huge backlog, and we all know the story here, that all these deals, all these AI euphoria, even though we believe in it and we believe that all the spending will continue to grow, but right now it's reaching a proportion where people are just coming in late, some of them, and chasing this into this mania. So I would say the question mark now is, what do we expect from here? So as we already talked about SPX is of course, has to be a correction because of the overbought conditions. When, it's impossible to predict, because right now market is chasing this rally. The QQQ has gone to the proportion which it has never seen. It's almost like in last 10 years, it has never been so overbought, especially without a correction. Usually even this happens. This comes with some kind of pullbacks, releasing the steam. And I think that's where right now everybody is wondering, and they are giving up to the chase and just going and buying. Overall, I think what we are saying is the big picture view is still the problem, right? Means in terms of what we are seeing here is 10-year yields have shot up. And if you look at 30-year yields, they are actually even worse. They are touching 5% almost. And as you also know, we have been updating in macro channel that there is no expectations of a rate cut in almost to the end of next year. And the reason being, now with the energy prices where they are, in terms of especially the oil prices being so spiked up with the war, there is no end of sight on the Strait of Hormuz opening. Even if it opens, there is so much of damage in terms of supplies from the Middle East, and also usually it takes many months even after you open to get that to normalcy. So there is a lot of bad news which is expected in next few weeks as we talk about the summer travel plans. There are already airlines cutting their flights and so on. And the shortages of gas as well as the jet fuel and so on is already in the headlines. I think there's a lot of things which our market has not discounted in this frenzy, which is driven by tech. So overall, I would say this is a question mark on the market of where it takes us. And for now, I think it's a buy every day kind of a situation where everybody is just chasing this rally. While let's say the market is of course, there is what are the other things do. Like when you're talking about semiconductor has to correct, and even if the market has to go up, there may be a rotation into other sectors, as we saw that semiconductor versus software is totally two different pictures. Even if you look at financials, they are pretty much beaten down. So that can be a category. And also within the tech stocks also, like if you see some stocks like, even something like, again, Microsoft is because of the software being beaten down, but even Apple has just kind of looking at its top. Meta has been beaten down, even though they are also investing in AI data centers and so on, while their debt is being questioned again. So there are a lot of mismatches in how market is chasing. There are some favorites. It's again the same K-shaped behavior. And I think this will resolve in one way or other, because money usually rotates into from one sector to another. So that is one of the ways I think market can still go up more, because it's very difficult to figure out where the top is when there is these kind of unprecedented rallies happen. But we also saw towards the end of this day is like, of course, what is happening is the volatility has gone down. That means there's an overconfidence building in the market. There is no risk premium. People are not paying for the insurance. That is what usually it means. That the cost of insuring portfolio is small on the downside, because nobody is feeling like there's going to be a correction. So this also gives you a little bit of overconfident signs in the market, which is not a great sign. So these are some of the concerns we are having in terms of the pace of the rally, in terms of the extent of the rally, especially in some sectors, and very narrow breadth. And that is where I think we are watching very carefully how it evolves. And that is, I think, one of the things which we are pretty much expecting in near future that it has to resolve at some point. So I think as I said, this is we are trying to keep it short today just to make sure that we catch up on where the markets are. And please feel free to, I think you can join our WhatsApp as well as continue the discussions in macro. I think we have been trying to keep up with all the news and what is really moving the markets. So our goal here is always to continue educating in terms of where we believe there are kind of extremes developing, and be cautious. I would say in the current scenario, be very cautious on what you chase, because this can be a pretty significant drawdowns at some point, especially in the sectors which are overbought. Especially like when you look at people trying to chase something like Intel, something like AMD, something like MU, and all that. Even though there are various narratives which are forming in the market, but this also means that there can be a pretty significant correction in them after this kind of a buy. So these are not fundamental driven rallies. It is kind of a FOMO chase right now. So that's with that we will end for this week update, and keep sending your feedback on the macro and continue the discussions. Thanks everybody. Have a great weekend.